Hey guys, we have an exciting day planned for you. We're going to go and talk to Danny the Digger Herman about the Temple Mount. We are here at the Temple Mount, and if you don't know who this individual is, this is Danny the Digger Herman, renowned archaeologist. This is the guy I go to for my information to get what's going on here in Israel archaeologically and historically. And what we're going to do with Danny today, and he's going to walk us through this whole path. We're going to go through the evidence of the Temple Mount, obviously that's behind us, because we want to debunk some conspiracy theories that are out there in the world of archaeology and in biblical prophecy as well. And there's some guys that are writing books. I call them pseudo scholars, Danny, because they're making claims that don't have any evidence, but they're selling books and they're confusing a lot of Christians out there about the rebuilding of the temple. Obviously, we know from prophecy that Israel will rebuild their temple. The issue then becomes where at? And so a lot of these myths say they're going to rebuild the temple in the city of David, that the temple was never here on the Temple Mount, but in the city of David, which Danny's going to take care of this. So Danny, give us some of the history, the background of all this before we start debunking all these crazy myths.
Well, first of all, we have the facts. We have the Old Testament, we have the New Testament, we have Josephus, an independent secular source from the time of the New Testament, and we have archaeology.
Right.
And they all seem to fit into a very clear sequence, historical and archaeological sequence, of this being the place where Solomon had his temple.
Yeah.
The Jews returning from Babylon had the second temple built over its ruins.
Okay.
And then Herod tearing down everything for making a grand complex of the temple in Temple Mount.
Right.
Whose supportive walls are still standing there.
Yeah, there they are.
Covering an area of about 20 soccer fields.
Okay.
Okay, and just imagine the big white edifice that stood there in the center and the endless smoke in front of it from the continuous flow of animal sacrifices.
Right.
That's how you practiced your Judaism back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it was the biggest barbecue
You're
in the Middle East, in my opinion. And Jesus, when he comes from the Galilee, he comes from Jericho. So from here, he sees it. But instead of being inspired, he actually predicts it will all be destroyed. Not one stone will be left upon another.
Right.
Remember that quote. We'll get back to it.
Yeah.
And indeed, 30 years later, after the time of Jesus here, the Jews rebel against the Roman Empire, and they pay badly for this. The Romans just knock down the whole city.
Okay.
They raze most of it to the ground. And worse, they establish a Roman camp here. The 10th Legion stays here for the next 300 years to make sure those Jews who dare to rebel against us don't even get close to Jerusalem, definitely not rebuild their temple or anything like that.
Right. So they built a camp on top of it.
On top of the ruins of the city. It doesn't say exactly where. We'll get to that too.
Okay.
2,000 years later, the Jews are back.
Yeah.
And we are a secular state, I admit,
Yeah.
but the religious Jews definitely would have liked to rebuild the temple, the third temple.
Right.
Many Christians would like that too, because in many Christian beliefs, it's part of the requirements for the return of Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the rebuilding of the third temple.
So
yeah.
That's where the incentive to make claims about where was the temple so we can rebuild it. And why can't we rebuild it exactly where it was?
Yeah.
Someone took the spot.
Right.
Islam.
Right, there it is.
In the 7th century, they took over Jerusalem.
Okay.
Believe it or not, this building was first built to commemorate Solomon's temple.
Was it really?
This is maybe breaking news.
I never heard that.
Most people and even Muslims are not aware of that. But the historical Muslim records show clearly that they first made it in memory of Solomon's temple, because Solomon is an important figure in Islam as well. He's Salman.
Wow. That's a tremendous insight.
But then they also combined it with the story of Muhammad's ascension to the heavens to get the prayers of Islam, which the Quran documents. And it says it happened, but it doesn't say it happened in Jerusalem.
Right.
In fact, the Quran never mentions Jerusalem, not even once.
Yeah.
What it says is that this story happened in the far most mosque, the furthest mosque.
Okay.
And when you're in Mecca or in Medina, where's the furthest mosque? It has to be far away,
Yeah.
not necessarily here.
Right.
But they started combining the Solomon commemoration building with that story. And when the Jews started coming here, they realized, oh, the Jews might claim that they have the right to rebuild the temple because even we commemorate the memory of the temple here. So let's drop that part of this building commemorating Solomon's temple.
Interesting.
Capiche?
Okay. Got it.
So now if you ask every Muslim, oh, it has nothing to do with Solomon. It is only for Muhammad's night journey. They deny their own sources about
Right.
this.
They're rewriting history.
Totally. That's true in general and
Right.
definitely here.
Yeah.
So if you cannot rebuild the temple unless you remove this building, and let's make it clear, you remove this building, we have probably the Third World War, okay?
Right, exactly.
The whole Muslim world will come against
Yeah.
us. So how can we rebuild the temple without knocking it down if we claim that it was in another location, which is a nice idea, but you have to provide evidence.
Right.
And what these marginal scientists, or I call them pseudo-archaeologists,
Yeah.
or historians, or whatever they want to, whatever they claim they are, they're suggesting it was in a different location, except that they don't bring any evidence. There's no historical evidence, there's no archaeological evidence.
Yeah.
What they are saying, for instance, one book argues, well, Jesus said that not one single stone will be left upon another, and of the surrounding walls of what used to be the Temple Mount, we have the western wall.
Right.
We have right there the eastern wall.
There it is, yeah.
You have
Right.
many parts of the southern wall and the northern. There's like about 10,000 stones that are still standing of the retaining walls.
Of the retaining wall, yeah.
How can you say that Jesus' prophecy, which has to be real, has been materialized and these stones are still standing? So it cannot be referring to this.
Right.
The answer is very simple. Jesus said about the single stone standing upon another, about the temple,
Exactly.
not the Temple Mount.
Exactly. And I fully agree with that. That's the proper interpretation of that.
Okay? But,
Yes.
But then they say, okay, so that's one criteria. And then if it's not here, then where was it? There's one claim saying it used to be upon the city of David.
Yeah.
Okay, let's deal with that.
Okay.
And they knock down everything, so not a single stone will be left upon another.
Yeah.
But then the destruction layer had to be found in the Kidron Valley
You would think.
of 20,000 stones.
At least, yeah.
These arguments did not provide a single stone or a single destruction layer in the Kidron Valley, and there isn't.
Right. There
So
isn't.
what you're saying is that they knocked down the Temple Mount and they evaporated the stones. Come on,
Right.
come on, guys, let's
Right.
be serious about
Yeah,
this.
it stretches credulity. Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Or another argument in these marginal theories is that at the end of the destruction of Jerusalem, it was, to quote Josephus, a desolate wasteland.
Okay. Yeah.
A desolate wasteland doesn't necessarily mean there's not a single piece of a wall remaining standing.
Right.
Look at the aerial photos of Gaza today as we are towards the end of the war following the events of October 7th.
Good. Yeah. Good
It is
point.
desolate wasteland, but
Yes.
there's still some walls standing.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Doesn't mean it's wiped out completely. Yeah. Totally. I get what you're saying.
Okay. And what we're going to do next, Brandon,
Okay.
we're going to go up to the Temple Mount.
Okay.
And we're going to explore the surroundings. And I'll show you there's plenty of evidence, definitely on the perimeter and still a few on the top, that show, yes, the temple was there. Right
Okay.
there in the middle. Even that proper research cannot be done there. If you know where to look, you can still find the evidence.
Awesome. Well, we're looking forward to that. So, guys, you're going to join us on this journey with Dan. He's going to take us all the way through, and you're going to hear from one of the top scholars, top archaeologists, about the placement of the temple. Okay, why is this important? Because as prophecy students, we know what is predicted, that the temple is going to be rebuilt. The New Testament talks about this rebuilding of the temple. And this is key to understanding, where does this have to be? Because as I believe with Danny, if the Dome of the Rock is standing where the temple should be, then at some point, if prophecy is going to come true, that Dome of the Rock has to be removed somehow, some way. You can't have an alternative location in, like Danny's saying, it can't be in the city of David, and it can't be any other place else. So We're going to talk about that, and this is important for us as Bible students. So, Danny, thanks so much. We're going to go to the next leg of our adventure.
Yes, and let me add just one more
Yes,
comment.
please.
If it says that the Romans have destroyed all of Jerusalem, how can you explain the fact that some of the surrounding walls were left standing?
True.
It was done deliberately by the Romans for a very specific reason, which we will review as well.
Perfect.
We can explain that too.
Okay, fantastic. So join us at the next leg. We're going to talk more about this with Danny the Digger Herman. Now we're here on the eastern retaining wall. Point to the evidence that you were talking to me off air about this section of the wall.
Yeah, it's right behind you.
Yeah, right?
The lower parts of the eastern wall towards the southern end, first of all of them are very big, massive stones. This is not the medieval renovation done by the Muslims or the Crusaders. They go back to the time of Herod over here and the Maccabees over here.
Okay, gotcha.
You can see there's a difference in style, and the seam in the middle is exactly what Josephus tells us. Herod taking the Temple Mount, knocking down the top, and enlarging the perimeter to make it this grand scale, which also at the end creates a height that is so amazing that it's intimidating, that if you fall off it, you could die.
Right.
And that is used also in the Gospels.
Right.
Second temptation.
That's right. He took him to the highest, the pinnacle of the temple. Yes.
Okay, so it all fits.
Yeah, he sure does.
Then anyone trying to say, no, the temple was never here, how do you deal with this?
Right. There's the evidence staring you right in the face.
Yeah. So you could argue, Josephus said that the Romans knocked down everything, and here obviously they didn't. But I have an answer to that.
Okay.
We'll see that later.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it.
So excited that we actually managed to get up to the Temple Mount.
It is amazing.
Filming here is virtually impossible.
Right.
Okay, only tourists can take photos, but we snuck in.
Yeah, we did.
And here we are, the Dome of the Rock standing in full glory, attracting all the Muslims here.
Right.
And it's a beautiful piece of Muslim architecture, don't get me wrong, except that it's placed where the Jewish temple used to.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
First of all, it's situated on bedrock.
Yeah.
There is a rock. It's called the Dome of the Rock.
Dome of the Rock.
There has always been a rock there. You know, rocks do not grow. It's always been there. And then you also have little bits of pieces of bedrock around the perimeter, which suggests what the Temple Mount used to look like. Now, Josephus tells us that around the temple, there was a line of inscriptions embedded into stones warning anyone, you can go up to the Temple Mount, but beyond this point, unless you are a Jew that has been purified, you cannot pass.
Okay.
If you dare do so, you could face the penalty of death.
Okay.
And we not only archaeologically found 2 copies of these inscriptions, one in Istanbul, one at the Israel Museum. Look at this.
Yes.
Here you have bedrock.
Bedrock.
That aligns with the modern stairway going up. And in the 19th century, they recorded a much bigger section of it.
Okay.
Suggesting there was a stairway, just like today, leading up to the central elevated, more sacred part. And the inscription should have been aligned over here.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing.
So you almost need a magnifying glass to go through all of the surface that has been completely Muslimized. But if you know where to look, you can find the evidence.
Wow.
And if you're claiming that it wasn't here, you better provide good evidence elsewhere.
That's right.
and there is none.
Right. That's
Okay?
true.
History, archaeology, all the evidence shows
Points
that
here.
this was the place.
Yeah. You know, and it's like we said, the stones cry out. There they are, and so that's fascinating, man. And that just debunks everything out there.
And there's another spot.
Okay.
Okay, besides the southern wall, western wall, the seam of the eastern wall,
Yeah.
there's another spot on the opposite side that I want to show
Okay.
you, which some scholars argue it may have been part of the original floor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't wait to see that one.
Here is another piece of the Temple Mount where you have a tiling that is a very big and worn stones. You
Yes.
see, they're not like here.
Right.
And they kind of look Herodian,
Yeah, they do.
and they're very worn out.
Yes.
So maybe, just maybe, some scholars hold the opinion that this is part of the floor from the time of the Temple Mount,
Wow.
the second temple.
That's amazing.
Okay?
That's incredible.
If you're arguing again that the temple
Yeah.
is elsewhere, you gotta show the evidence.
Here it is.
We have it.
Yeah, here we are.
You're
Wow.
actually walking on floor that maybe Jesus walked on.
Right. Yeah. Like you're saying, it was the same level and
Yeah.
everything. So that's amazing.
Now, Josephus tells us that it was definitely paved and that parts of it were of colored stone.
Colored stone.
And
Okay.
guess what?
What's
we
that?
even found evidence of that
Really?
over there.
Okay, we'll go check it out. Explain what's in front of me.
Yeah, so Josephus tells us that in the days of Jesus, the Temple Mount had a colored floor to it.
Okay.
What is colored floor?
Yeah.
Exactly. And in 1999, the Muslims gave us the opportunity to examine it because
Okay.
they pulled out 400 truckloads of debris from the corner of the Temple Mount.
Right.
An archaeological crime.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because it was done without archaeological supervision.
Right.
But since then, a devoted team of archaeologists is going through this painstakingly process of sifting bucket by bucket of that pile of mostly earth,
Okay.
but also a lot of finds. And they're making discoveries from all sorts of periods. And then they started noticing that every once in a while, there's like a colored floor that surfaces.
Okay.
And one of the members of the team, an American called Frankie Snyder, she decided to focus just on this.
Okay.
And over the years, they found enough that enabled her to suggest this is what the patterns of
Wow.
the colored floor of the Temple Mount in the time of Jesus looked like.
That's amazing.
These are not the original pieces that she
Sure,
found, but,
sure.
but the replica of the same fabric. It's from the same quarries. None of them, by the way, are local to the Holy Land. Green marble, for instance, came from today's Tunisia.
Tunisia. Okay.
And this could have come from Turkey, Greece, or Italy.
Okay.
Red is typical to Upper Egypt.
Okay.
Upper Egypt. You
Wow.
realize what distances these
That is
stones traveled
amazing.
to adorn the temple that Herod has recreated.
Wow. The expense on bringing this in to pave the entire floor.
Yeah.
But I never had imagined. I was always thinking it was a stone ground, you know, like we're
And
used
it wasn't the perimeter, but in the center, Josephus tells us it was colored stones. And we never knew what it meant
right.
till we
But
found
now
it.
we have this.
Which
Man.
again proves
Yeah.
that's the place of the temple.
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That is amazing. So I'm looking at a replica of what it looked like when Jesus walked on the Temple Mount.
Yeah. Yeah.
That
It's
is
also
incredible.
an amazing point that Jesus actually walked on similar type of
Yeah.
decoration.
So let me ask you this: the designs and the patterns, is these what they found? Is these designs?
They found enough, and through parallels found probably in Rome itself, they suggested that this is what it looked like. Like if you go to certain palaces in Rome from the time of Augustus and so on, you'll see similar patterns.
Really?
And Herod was very familiar with the latest trends of interior design in Rome.
Ah.
You see it in Masada and elsewhere. So he probably also copied it to adorn the Temple Mount.
So there's nothing as far as religious significance. It was just
No.
the style of the day.
Just the trend of the time, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That is amazing, Danny. That is amazing. That blows me away. And I hope it blows you guys away because you're looking at what the Temple Mount floor looked like. And again, more evidence, Danny, of the temple being right exactly where you said it is. Okay, so Danny, where are we at now? What are we
Yeah.
looking at?
So, as if the evidence of the stairway and the floor is not enough, we are now at the southern eastern edge of the Temple Mount.
Okay.
Like there in the corner is the pinnacle, that
Pinnacle?
famous
Yes.
high part where the second temptation of Jesus may have taken place.
Right.
And what happens here is that in the Middle Ages, the Crusaders made big halls here,
Okay.
erroneously known as Solomon's Stables.
Okay.
It's not from Solomon's time, with all due respect.
Okay.
But in the 1990s of the 20th century, trying to appease the Arabs, the parliament voted for a left-wing party that said, you know what, you can turn this into a mosque, the underground section. And the Muslims in return said, oh yeah, thank you very much, but we need also a proper entrance or an additional entrance to the small ones that are out there.
Okay.
Just an emergency
Right.
exit in case of a fire or anything.
Okay.
Israel said, fine. What they did is they brought bulldozers and they tore up this
Oh
whole
my
strip
goodness.
of land.
Unbelievable.
And this was going for quite some time until the archaeologists, said, stop it, stop
Right,
it. Now,
right.
It's not that I'm against development of any sort.
Sure.
But the holiest mountain of the world being
Right.
torn apart without archaeological supervision,
Right.
it's a crime.
Right.
It's a crime against humanity, not just against Jewish heritage.
Right.
It's also Christian heritage. It's the Western world heritage.
Right.
So this was done, okay?
Wow.
We stopped them before they were about to clear all of this area, but 2 entries were completed.
Okay.
And 400 truckloads of dump were taken out of here and poured into the Kidron Valley.
Oh my goodness.
Since then, 2 archaeologists are leading a project of sifting through the debris.
Okay.
And guess what, Brandon?
What'd they find?
A lot of stuff from many periods, Middle Ages, prehistory. Most interesting, we have a little bit even from the first temple period, and we have quite a lot from the second temple period.
Wow.
But this is again and again and again showing the temple used to be here.
You're right.
Right there, and this was the perimeter of it. If you want to propose anything else, you better come up with
Right.
backup.
Right. Exactly.
And there's none for any of the alternative theories. I'm sorry.
Right.
It seems like the people who suggest it have a certain agenda.
Yes, and I would agree with you. There's a selling point to this. There's sensationalism. There's books to be had. There's conferences to be paid for.
Yeah.
And so I get it, man. I think what we're seeing here, Danny, is here's the evidence, here's the facts, and when these people go against that, you start realizing what it's really about. Sometimes it's just about money and selling a new conspiracy theory or something like that.
Or even getting attention as a scholar.
Totally.
Because the conventional opinion is boring.
Right.
Let's come up with new proposals. Now, I'm always in favor of thinking outside the box.
Yes.
But stick also to science and ration and facts.
It's got to back that up. Amen. Amen. Great. Fascinating. But, and it created an archaeological nightmare, but it did show the evidence.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing that came out of it, I guess.
Turned the lemon into a lemonade.
That's right.
Okay?
That's a good way of putting it. Yes.
And let's keep the exploration. Let me show you the evidence of this pavement, because there is a replica of it presented.
Really? Okay. Fascinated. Let's look at it. So now we're on this part. This is the southern wall, but we're looking at rubble. So Danny, what is all this stuff here? What is that?
Actually, technically, the southern wall is there. This is like the corner of the southern and the western wall.
Okay.
But we call it the Southern Wall Archaeological Park.
Okay.
And after the Six-Day War, we had a golden opportunity to dig in the old city in many parts, and especially here.
Okay.
This is actually the biggest archaeological park of the old city. And what we found here is truly amazing. First of all, even before the excavations, American scholar Edward Robinson in the 19th century already noticed that there's like a projection of a beginning of an arch.
Yeah.
We call it to this day Robinson's
Arch.
And it ended on this side.
Okay.
In the 1970s, we found the other end of it. So here you had a monumental archway, either for the priests coming from their homes in today's Jewish quarter, or for the pedestrians after doing their shopping here.
Okay.
And then we found the actual shopping street.
Oh,
And
wow.
if you got shops there.
Yeah.
Now, maybe, Brandon, this is where the money changers and the dove sellers are all
Okay.
situated. And
Gotcha.
Jesus gets upset at how they are ripping off the public
Right, right.
because they're charging just so much money.
Right.
But then we also uncovered here unrefutable evidence of the destruction of the temple. Someone had to use a lot of force to knock down the upper parts, and they were all piled up here.
Wow.
This is undoubtedly the destruction of Jerusalem in the summer of year 70.
Okay.
Now, yes, they didn't knock down everything, but they definitely knocked down the temple, the surface.
Yes.
And we're in the midst of knocking down the rest, and then someone decided, no, let's keep this because we may want to use it.
Right.
Or they just didn't bother to complete the task because the Jews are all gone anyway.
Wow.
Okay? But
Wow.
to say that if the stones are still standing, contradicting what Jesus said, not a single stone will be left upon another,
Right.
it just doesn't fit because he was talking about the temple, not
Yes,
the
right.
temple mount.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So did the Romans just push these over to the side or what?
They just pulled them over from the wall, and you can see how the highest levels are now at the bottom, like the railing there.
Oh, yeah.
Then the rest were piled above them. And I was actually a student when we were uncovering this part.
Were you really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
remember the excitement. This is the actual destruction of Jerusalem.
70 AD.
The
yeah.
Jews to this day mourn on the day of the destruction of the temple, on the 9th day in the month of Av.
Yeah.
And for 2,000 years, it was just an idea that you would reflect upon in your synagogue in Europe or in, wherever you live.
Right.
Now you can actually see the evidence.
Right.
That's very, very
That's
moving.
amazing.
Very sober, but very, very exciting.
It is in that sense. And two, guys, like the Lord said, not one stone will be left on another. He had predicted that this would happen to the temple. And there it is right there in front of us, man. Danny, that's amazing. And again, another point of evidence that you have shown us through all of this, of saying, hey, look, this is where the temple was. And
Yeah.
you can't deny it.
Yeah. On the other hand, there are places that were preserved. So
Okay.
let's go there.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to it. So Danny, we're here now. Explain this kind of area, what's going on here.
This is a back part of the Southern Wall Archaeological Park, which is actually very important for the argument, why didn't the Romans knock down all of the walls?
Okay.
It is a fact that the Western Wall, to some extent, is still standing. So is the Southern Wall.
Yeah.
Why didn't they knock down everything? For one thing, it was so massive that if you want to knock down everything, you're going to need a lot of manpower and rods.
Right.
But maybe they did knock down because they wanted to reuse it, to recycle it. And for what purpose? This is a great place to put a military camp.
True.
It's a big elevated rectangular zone.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we cannot excavate there to see if there are any remains of the 10th Legion, command post. But we know for a fact that the 10th Legion was stationed in Jerusalem for 300 years. And then when we dug here in the perimeter, look what we found.
Huh. What is this?
This is an infrastructure of a Roman bathhouse.
Oh, is it really?
And not from the 1st century, but from the 2nd or 3rd century.
Okay.
And we also found evidence of a bakery from the late Roman period.
Wow.
All of this suggests that indeed the headquarters of the camp was up there, and this was like a service area.
Okay.
To get bread, to go get a bath, and some
Okay.
other civilian services.
Wow. That is amazing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
if anyone is trying to say, there are still stones standing here, so it cannot be the temple.
Right?
No, this is the temple mount,
Right.
and the Romans left it because they wanted to reuse it.
Sure.
That's it.
That makes perfect sense.
Short and simple.
Yeah, easy, right? It's when people try to change history and rewrite it, that's when it gets complicated and confusion.
Yeah.
But the evidence points to a very simplistic answer.
Yeah.
Here it is, right there in front of us. A Roman bathhouse. Amazing.
Okay, so Brandon, this stairway is restored,
Okay.
but there was an original stairway over here. We have found its parallel on the left,
Okay.
And you see what we are approaching?
Yeah, 3 archways.
3 archways, what is known as the triple gate.
Triple gate, okay.
And this is very exciting for me to walk here because 2,000 years ago, my ancestors, all the Jews eager to reach the temple, this is the entry they used.
Wow,
And
that's
Jesus
amazing.
entered from here.
Wow, that's amazing.
You see the arch,
Yeah,
and the lower parts have original stones.
okay.
It turns out that in the Middle Ages, Jews came here, snuck in. It was forbidden. They still
Okay.
made it. And coming here, at this level, some people wrote their names.
Really?
Now, a graffiti is disgusting. It's barbarism.
Right.
But centuries later, it's an historical document.
Right.
This is what we have here. Someone doing not something that we consider to be very polite,
Right.
but he cherished the moment that he actually made it and managed to get to the supportive wall of the Temple Mount. He was so excited, he decided to chisel his name.
Oh boy.
Okay, something Nun
Nun, yeah.
Mudraf Yaakov, or something like this. Yosef Nun Yaakov.
Wow.
And we have more of them.
Really?
But his specific graffiti is against what seems to be the edge of the original doorway or arch
okay.
into the Temple Mount.
That's amazing. Wow.
It's all here.
Yeah.
Both the evidence from the time of the temple and the people later venerating, cherishing the fact that it used to be the temple.
Wow.
So anyone, arguing for a different location for the temple, give me some evidence even remotely similar to this.
Right, exactly.
And they have nothing.
There's a lot of people denying the Jewish presence here on the Temple Mount, which is unbelievable. But we have a narrative of saying, oh, they were never here. And it's like, wait a second, what is all of this?
Actually, the biggest voice in this attitude is the voice you're hearing above you, the muezzin calling for prayer.
Yes.
Because in the 7th century, the Muslimized the whole city, the region, and the Temple Mount. And in their own claim today, all of this was done by Muslims.
Oh.
There was nothing here before the 7th century. And don't be bothered with the facts. Here you have 1st century evidence.
Yeah.
No, they still claim it was all done by Muslims, nothing before. And they just ignore evidence like Jews writing their names.
Writing their name, yeah.
Ritual baths.
Mikvahs, yeah.
And 1st century dating material. Okay,
Yeah.
so you make a claim, but I have the facts, I have the science backing my claims.
Right.
They don't.
That's right. And it's amazing. Here's the evidence of a Jewish man writing his name there, graffitiing his name, and just verifies the Jewish presence here.
Totally.
And
Now, let's go to the most famous section of the retaining wall, the Western Wall Plaza.
Okay.
And again, see why the Jews venerate it as being a physical remnant of the temple.
Okay.
And let's see if we can get in also to the tunnels and extension of the Western Wall Plaza.
That would be great.
Which shows again, it's all part of the temple perimeter.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. So Danny, you brought us here to one of the most famous Jewish places on the planet, the Western Wall. So kind of walk us through the significance of this.
Centuries ago already, Jews have noticed that this is a genuine remnant of the Temple Mount, and they started sanctifying it.
Yeah.
And to this day, religious Jews come and pray here. And moreover, it's a place of national events.
Yeah.
Okay, the main ceremony before Day of Independence takes place right here.
Wow.
I personally was sworn into the army when I went into my army service here as well.
Right here, huh?
And my son's bar mitzvah was also done.
Was here, oh,
It's a very remarkable place for us.
Sure.
And it's so holy for us that we enter it the same way we enter a synagogue.
Yeah.
Meaning we put a head cover.
Right.
So either you put a hat on, or in your case, put a kippah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's showing God's presence upon you as you enter this holy place.
Okay, let's
go. Let's go and see it now.
On the religious level, explain to the audience why they're going up right to the wall. What are they trying to accomplish through that? Is it proximity?
It's touching the most tangible remains of the temple.
There you
Now,
go.
it's not the temple itself, I admit, but it's the Temple Mount. It's the retaining walls of the temple.
Right, right,
Jesus walked here.
right,
People
exactly.
sold pigeons and changed money here.
Yeah,
For all I know, maybe that scene of turning the tables may have taken, not at this level, but on the street level
Sure.
2,000 years ago, which was a
Sure.
bit lower.
right.
But this is it, and
This
it's
is
still
it.
standing.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't
It's
that amazing?
It is amazing.
It's a testimony.
Yeah,
to it.
and it gets better actually. There's another section that is indoors,
Okay.
and beyond it is another set of tunnels that were dug already in the 1980s to validate that the Western Wall indeed stretches through its own length.
Wow. Okay. I'm excited to see that.
Well, filming there is not so easy.
Okay.
Getting in alone is tricky.
Sure.
Definitely filming,
Okay.
but let's give it a try.
Okay. Why not? What do we got to lose?
Yeah. See, it's more of the Western Wall.
Yeah. Going all the way through.
The rest is already tunnels.
Okay. Amazing. What arch is this?
This is called Wilson's Arch.
Wilson's Arch. Okay.
Here, come. You can see that it's in harmony with the Western Wall.
Yeah.
Meaning it's not a later addition. It's from the original
Right.
Western Wall,
See the way
Temple Mount, supporting this massive arch. Look at the width of it.
Wow.
In my opinion, no one really knows, but in my opinion, it was for the priest to go into
go
the
into
temple
the-
in purity, not touching an unpure people, to operate the animal sacrifice.
Ah, okay.
It doesn't say it, but that's my
Right. That's your opinion. Yeah.
And here is a presumed image
Okay.
of what the temple looked like. Unfortunately, the Romans knocked down everything. The Muslims rebranded it. There's not a single stone of the temple itself that I can show you with certainty, but based on Josephus, the Mishnah, and so on, this is an educated guess.
Educated guess. Yeah. Wow. It would have been spectacular.
Yeah, we can correct this part.
Yeah.
It was colored stone.
It's colored
not
stone.
just black ones.
Yeah. Amazing. Wow. Wow. All right. Well, thank you, Danny. That was awesome, man. Appreciate it. Okay, guys, this is the last leg of our expedition and our journey. Danny's going to take us through. We've got special permission to be down in here, and so Danny's going to talk about what we're seeing in front of us.
Yeah, this is really an exceptional fact that at the last minute we got the permit at the end of the day to
Yes.
film in what is known as the Western Wall tunnels.
Okay.
This is a tunnel that extends from the Western Wall Plaza all the way to the end of the Western Wall and its pinnacle with the Northern Wall. They started doing this already in the 1980s, and for a sole purpose of proving the Western Wall behind you
Right.
was not just a praying plaza. It did extend all the way to the end, and it was all made in the time of King Herod to
Wow.
hold the temple on top.
Wow. Amazing.
And my favorite, Brandon, turn around. Look
Okay.
at this. Look at the scale of this stone alone.
Massive. Absolutely massive.
In fact, you know what? Let's zoom out a bit
Yeah.
so the camera shows us. Look at this. It doesn't show the left end and it doesn't show the right end, but you can see the height.
Yeah.
And this stone alone was estimated to be 500 tons.
Wow. That's crazy.
The only person and time frame when this could be made was for an infrastructure to hold the temple on the top.
Sure.
Anyone claiming otherwise has to find a good answer to who made this and when and why.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
cannot think of a better answer.
No, the stones cry out. There they are,
Yeah.
right? It gives the evidence.
Now, since Jesus said not one single stone will be left upon another, and this is still standing,
Right.
the answer is very clear. They demolished the temple, which
Yes.
is what Jesus prophesied.
Right.
But the Romans did leave this and many other stones standing. Why? Because they wanted to reuse the temple.
Okay, that makes sense.
One theory argues they placed the 10th Legion camp on top of it, which
Okay.
makes perfect sense, and there is some evidence from the perimeter of this.
Okay.
And we know from later Christian sources that they had a sculpture of the emperor on top.
Wow.
You don't want to demolish everything around it when you put an image of your own force now over Jerusalem.
Right, right.
So that could rationalize why they left some of the perimeter
Totally.
standing.
Yeah.
And when the Muslims came, they redid the rest of it
Okay.
to Muslimize the mountain, put the Dome of the Rock.
Sure.
The Crusaders Christianized it into
Yeah.
the set of churches during Crusaders period.
Right.
And now the Muslims are in charge again. So it's all very Muslim on the top. But
Right.
it's all rebuilding in the Middle Ages over the original foundation of the temple.
There it is. I mean, that. How do you argue with that? And it blows away all these crazy theories, right?
Yeah.
It couldn't have been any other place other than this.
Yeah.
And there it is, set in stone. And this is Second Temple era, right? I mean, this goes
Clearly.
2,000 years back.
The style is very clearly early Roman stage, Herodian time.
Yeah, and explain that style, because I noticed it's like there's a
There's like
it's
a
carved
frame.
out.
Yeah, and the inner part is a bit juts out.
Yes.
They call this a boss, B-O-S-S. And only in Herodian times is it used. Now, it's true that sometimes you find it also in the 2nd century stage of Jerusalem, like in
Okay.
Damascus Gate, but it's
Okay.
probably imitating the Herodian style because it was so
Right.
beautiful.
Right.
And
Amazing.
again, who else in what other time frame would go through so much effort and had the ability financially to go through so much effort?
Right.
It all fits into the Herodian stage and what later was in the time of Jesus.
Right. Right. Well, you know, it's interesting, Danny, that Herod was known as a great builder, wasn't he?
He loved to build.
Yeah. And I think they even quoted to Jesus when he said, "Destroy this temple and I will raise it in 3 days," referring to his body. They said that it took, 46 years to build this
Yeah.
temple. So it was a massive undertaking.
And from the time that Herod started, around 20 BCE or so,
yeah.
till the time of Jesus, it is 46 years.
Right.
Everything fits.
Everything fits. Amazing.
Okay.
Well, Daddy, you have just debunked all the crazy theories out there.
I hope.
Yeah, no, it's
Because they
good.
just don't make sense.
They don't.
This makes sense.
Yes.
The alternative theories just don't make sense.
Absolutely. And then there, guys, makes sense as far as prophecy is concerned. Remember, like I said, you have Jesus saying that the abomination of desolation will happen in the Jewish temple in the future. You got Paul talking about the same thing. And then you got the book of Revelation saying the third temple is going to be built. And where is it going to be built? It's not going to be built in the city of David. It's not going to be built to the north. Here is where the temple will be. This is the place. And if scripture says it's going to be rebuilt, it will be rebuilt. Danny, I appreciate all the wonderful information. You've helped us, helped the audience, and
My
that
pleasure.
sets the record straight. God bless you, man.
Good.
All right.
Thank
you so much. And thank you guys for tuning in. Danny, how can they find you?
Well, I have my own channel.
Yes.
Danny the Digger on YouTube.
Right?
Danny the Digger on Instagram.
Yeah.
You can
They
just
can
follow
find-
me there. Yeah.
And you're doing tours now. So if you're interested in touring,
Yeah. The ceasefire seems to be lasting. I'm getting new requests on daily basis. So if you want to have a private tour with me, pick up the phone or fill in the contact form.
Yeah.
And I'll be more than happy to show the Holy Land and all its wonders
Yeah.
to whoever wants.
I highly recommend him. He's great. You're going to love him. So anyway, watch his stuff, support Danny and all he's doing, and maybe do a tour with him. All right, guys? Anyway, thank you, Danny. God bless you guys. We'll see you next time.